Russia will never be a superpower. These are bold words and they might be shocking to some, but it's the reality. Today, I'm going to break down why Russia, despite its vast size, history, and ambitions, lacks the foundation and resources to ever truly regain its superpower status. We'll explore the Russia-Ukraine war, the history of the Russian Empire and the Soviet Union, and how modern Russia compares to global giants like China, the USA, and NATO. Finally, we'll dig into the hard statistics that tell the real story. Let's get into it. Russia-Ukraine war. Russia's invasion of Ukraine was supposed to be a show of strength, a demonstration that Russia could still project power across its borders and reassert influence over its neighbors. But the reality has been starkly different. Instead of a quick victory, the war has exposed the weaknesses of the Russian military. Supply chain issues, low morale, and outdated equipment are just a few of the challenges they've faced. Sanctions have crippled the Russian economy, cutting off access to crucial technologies and financial systems. The West's unified response has isolated Russia internationally, limiting its ability to operate on the global stage. Nations like China, once considered Russia's close partners, have distanced themselves diplomatically. Even traditional allies like Kazakhstan and Armenia are seeking alternative partnerships, questioning Russia's ability to protect and lead. Russia's focus on Ukraine has drained its military and economic resources, reducing its ability to project power elsewhere. What was supposed to be a demonstration of strength has instead exposed deep vulnerabilities. History of the Russian Empire and USSR. To understand why Russia will never again be a superpower, we need to look back at when it truly was one. During the era of the Russian Empire, Russia expanded its territory across Europe, Asia, and the Arctic, becoming one of the largest empires in history. Under the Tsars, it had influence stretching from Eastern Europe to the Pacific Ocean. The Soviet Union represented the height of Russia's global influence. It was one of two superpowers during the Cold War, competing with the United States on every front: military, space, and ideology. The USSR controlled Eastern Europe, created a nuclear arsenal to rival the West, and had a global presence. But this power came at a cost. The Soviet Union's centralized economy and authoritarian system eventually led to stagnation, inefficiency, and collapse. When the Soviet Union fell in 1991, it marked the end of Russia's time as a global superpower. The empire was gone, and so were the resources and influence that came with it. Russia after the Soviet Union. In the 1990s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia faced economic turmoil and political chaos. The transition to a market economy was poorly managed, leading to widespread poverty, corruption, and the rise of oligarchs who controlled much of the country's wealth. Russia lost influence over former Soviet republics as these nations sought independence and Western partnerships. When Vladimir Putin came to power in 1999, his mission was to restore Russia's power and prestige. He stabilized the economy, largely thanks to rising oil prices, and tried to reassert Russian influence abroad. But unlike the Soviet Union, Russia now lacked the resources to compete globally. Putin focused on rebuilding influence in the post-Soviet space, places like Belarus, Ukraine, and Central Asia. But globally, Russia struggled to re-establish itself as a dominant force. Putin's attempts to project power have often been regional, whether through military actions in Georgia, Crimea, or Syria. But these actions highlight a key point. Russia can't afford to project power globally. Instead, it picks and chooses its battles, often in areas where the stakes are low or where it has immediate interest. Russia today compared to China, the USA, and NATO. Now let's compare modern Russia to the global heavyweights: China, the USA, and NATO. The United States remains the world's dominant superpower. It has the largest military budget, the most advanced technology, and unparalleled global alliances, such as NATO. Its soft power, through culture, diplomacy, and economic influence, makes it a leader in global affairs. Even in the face of challenges, the US can project power globally and maintain its status as a superpower. China, on the other hand, is an emerging superpower. Its economy is the second largest in the world and continues to grow rapidly. China is expanding its global influence through investments in infrastructure across Africa, Latin America, and Asia. Its technological advancements and military modernization are positioning it as a serious challenger to the United States. And then there's NATO, a military alliance that includes most of the world's strongest economies and militaries. NATO's unified response to Russian aggression has shown its strength and cohesion, putting pressure on Russia's borders while providing security for its members. Statistical analysis of Russia. Let's look at the numbers. Russia's GDP ranks 11th in the world, but its economy is overly reliant on oil and gas exports, which make up around 60% of its revenues. This dependency makes Russia vulnerable to global energy markets, and with the push for renewable energy, this reliance could become a liability in the future. Demographically, Russia faces serious challenges. Its population is shrinking, and its workforce is aging. A smaller aging population puts pressure on the economy, weakens its ability to innovate, and reduces military recruitment. Russia's military spending is significant, but pales in comparison to the United States and even China. With a defense budget of around $65 billion, it's only a fraction of the US's $800 billion, and far behind China's $230 billion. Finally, Russia's diplomatic isolation has weakened its ability to forge meaningful global alliances. Aside from countries like Belarus and North Korea, it struggles to maintain strong international partnerships, as evidenced by the limited support it received during the Ukraine invasion. Russia's ambitions to regain superpower status are hindered by demographic decline, economic vulnerabilities, military weaknesses, and geopolitical isolation. The world has changed since the days of the Soviet Union, and while Russia still wields significant influence regionally, it simply does not have the means or the resources to project power on a global scale. In the end, Russia's future likely lies in consolidating its role as a regional power, rather than overstretching itself in a doomed attempt to become a global superpower once again. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below.